reassured by this kind of data because it tells us, A, we have a finger on the numerical pulse of what's happening with disease outbreaks and so on, but also these numbers are very low in comparison to where we were in previous years. And also the key metric to pay attention to is this translating into more people going into hospital and, heaven forbid, more people losing their lives? And the answer is both those latter numbers, although they have shown a small uptick recently, remain much, much lower than they have been historically.
And of course, what it shows is, look, coronavirus, it's still lurking around. But also, I suppose these numbers are the fact that we have to go and buy them now. They're not free.
But people are testing, and when you test, you find answers. If you don't test, you don't get the answer. So,
to a certain extent, without testing, ignorance is bliss. So some of the ignorance that's gone on is because we haven't been looking. But in the background, there have been, until about springtime, about 1.5 million cases a week of coronavirus in the country. So if you just pause time at any moment and looked how many people have got coronavirus in the UK, it's very, very high. It's been about 750,000 cases at any one time in the last month or so, and it's crept up a little tiny bit, but it has stayed reassuringly low. We expect that over summer, but then, as you pointed out in your programme, there are allergies going on with hay fever and grass pollen and so on, so some people are mistaking allergy symptoms for infection. We also do get summer colds as well, and so some viruses, especially in the wake of the lockdowns, the natural seasonal pattern of some viruses has been disrupted, so we're seeing more of those sorts of things. And people are travelling again more because it's summertime and picking up things abroad that they're bringing home. And so there are more coughs and colds going round, but not worryingly so.
What do you think this says about our immunity? It's a good thing if we're all kind of building immunity to viruses, particularly, obviously, coronavirus.
Yeah. Well, I think what happened over the lockdowns was that we divorced ourselves from exposure to the normal things that circulate, and we robbed our immune system of the chance to update its immunity naturally, because we are always being assailed by all kinds of infections all the time. And some of them we catch without realising it, and we update our immunity. When we had lockdowns, what we did was to break the cycle of infection and therefore immunisation that was going on naturally. So a lot of people have become vulnerable to things that previously they wouldn't have noticed they were having. And so we have had a long succession of people catching a lot of stuff. And at the same time, as I mentioned, because of those lockdowns, we broke the normal seasonal cycle. Some diseases for decades have been coming at certain times of the year, and we disrupted that cycle. And that cycle's taking a little while to get re-established. And so we're seeing surges of other infections at funny times of the year. And all this is conspiring to mean that people are feeling a bit iller for longer with more things as we
catch up immunologically and remind ourselves what we used to just bat off with the blink of an eye.
The blink of an eye.
The blink of an eye. Yeah, it's so true. As a mum of 2 little ones that pick up germs now, feels like every week. It is a good thing in terms of that immunity, like you said. But what are your thoughts as we move forward into the flu season, the autumn? The NHS will be publishing how prepared they are for that season. Should we be worried? Are we well prepared?
Well, the one thing we do know a lot about is flu, historically, because we've got decades of experience of combating the flu. There's a really good international network of laboratories that gather data on the flu and share that information all around the world, and it's used to make the flu vaccine. So what's going on in the southern hemisphere at the moment, where it's winter time and their flu season, they're collecting samples of flu. They will be sending those into a network of
World Health Organization laboratories who compare what's doing the rounds in the countries that have flu outbreaks with what's currently in the vaccine that we're going to make to put into people for our flu season.
And they'll ask the question, does this vaccine protect against this strain of the flu that's circulating, and where we think that strain of the flu is going to end up when it changes and adapts, which flu does every year. If the answer to the question is the flu vaccine looks good, then they will scale up manufacture and they'll aim to get it into people. At least a month ahead of the flu season starting. The simple reason being it takes you a month after vaccination to build appreciable immunity, and prevention is always better than cure. So we try and go in early in order to protect people before a surge of disease, but not too early, because the immunity isn't long-lived. It protects you over that winter, but not much beyond that. So you want to get the sweet spot in the timing to protect people for the longest time possible. Otherwise, there's a chance you get some breakthrough.
And Chris, where are we with the COVID boost jab? Because presumably that will be starting again in the autumn.
At the moment, our current understanding is that those people who remain most vulnerable are the oldest people, people who are in care homes, people who have long-standing immune or other health problems that render them vulnerable, and those people who are caring for those people. Those are the ones we want to protect the most. So the aim will be to protect those people ahead of what will probably be a seasonal surge come the wintertime, because coronaviruses of all kinds and all persuasions are respiratory infections that tend to come in wintertime. They spread better in the wintertime. So we expect there will be an autumn surge, and that will also coincide with the time when people have lost their immunity, because the greatest time will have elapsed since they were last vaccinated. So I don't expect the government will change the target population who have currently been
updated and boosted.